Hi class, this is a quick reference video covering how to set up Github Desktop for the Mac. If you don't have Github Desktop on your computer, you can download it easily. Go to one of your browsers. You can use Chrome or any browser and just Google GitHub or GitHub Desktop, and you'll see it should be one of the first links. If you Google GitHub Desktop, it should be the first link there. So you can click on that. I'll put a link in the description as well. It should detect what computer you're on. You can click download for Mac. So once it finishes downloading, you can go to the Finder and open a new window and go to downloads. And you can see it's already opened from the zip there. And what you want to do is just make sure to put that in your applications folder. If you just run this from downloads, it'll work, but you may delete it later and forget about it, or it may have references that you don't expect. So you want to make sure to drag this into the applications folder. I already obviously have it, so I'm just going to click replace, and then I'll just delete that zip drive. Once the GitHub Desktop is in your applications folder, you can open it by clicking on the spotlight and typing in GitHub Desktop. You should also be able to see it if you go into the application view. Let's see if we can find it. Well, I don't see it. Let's try typing in GitHub. Okay, there we go. So you can also find it by going into the application view, typing in GitHub, and there it is. And it's going to ask you if you're sure that you want to open it. Just click open, and this is what you'll see if once you've first opened it up. If you want to keep it docked, you can go over the dock and go to options, keep in dock. That might be a good option to use, so it's easy to find later. So once you have the app open, just click sign into GitHub. If you don't have a GitHub account, you need to go to github.com and create one, but everybody should have a GitHub account at this point. So I'm just going to type in my username and my password. And I'm just going to check that this looks right. The name is right. The email is good. So I'm just going to click continue and then finish. And so you should see something like this. So we want to clone a repository. I'm going to click clone. You can scroll through and see all the repositories that you have on your GitHub account. If you're in one of my classes, it probably starts with MMP, so you can filter by typing that in, and then you can choose the class. You do want to make sure to change the local path here. If you want your folder to be on the desktop, which you don't have to, but it makes things a little easier, you can click that choose button, click on the desktop, and click open, and this local path will change. So it should just be your username, desktop, and then MMP210, and then you can just click clone. And so then you'll be ready to use GitHub. You can click open in Sublime Text. It should try to detect your text editor to open your files. You can also click show in Finder, and it'll show where your files are on the computer. So there's the desktop, there's my MMP folder. You can also click view on GitHub to see your repo on the GitHub account. If you're not logged in, you can still see the code, but you're not going to be able to change the settings or do anything else. So you'll want to sign in here to get the link. And so when you're ready to turn in an assignment, you can go to settings and scroll down and click on the link here. This will open in the same window, so you may want to drag this link into a new tab. You can also command click, or if you don't need to, you can just click on the link here. And then you would just click on whatever project you wanted to submit, and then copy that link and submit it on Blackboard. So that should cover everything as far as getting GitHub up and started. When you're working on your project, so if I am going to edit something in one of my folders, for instance, I might add a new link. I'm just going to do this as an example. If I add a link here, when I go back to GitHub, you'll see that there's some changes, And if we want to add these changes online, remember we just have to make a commit message that describes the change that we made. So I'd say adds a link and commit to master and then push to origin. And so that should cover most of the basics for GitHub. Another thing that you might want to do is if you already have a folder on your computer, but it's not connected to GitHub, what you can do then is go to File and add local repository, and then choose that repository path. So for example, if I choose MMP310 and click Open, it's going to look for the Git inside of that folder and add it into my GitHub. So now I can see the history for all of my MMP310, and I have that in there as well. Another thing that you may see is if you have GitHub and you have your folder, another issue that you may run into is if your folder gets moved or deleted. So let's say I took the MMP310 that I just added and I deleted it. Then when I go back to GitHub, it's going to be gone. So there's a couple ways I can fix this. One is I could, if the folder is somewhere on the computer, or I renamed it or something like that, I could always just click locate. But since I deleted it, I can click clone again and it'll bring it back. So that's one way to fix it. Another issue you might have is if you renamed a folder for some reason. So if I rename this ON at the end, then when I go back to GitHub, again, it's not going to be able to find the folder, but the folder name doesn't actually have to match as long as it has the same files. So I can go back here, go to MMP350 and click open, and it'll find it again. And if I realize that I didn't want to add that and I go back here, I'll just click locate again and find that folder again and click open. So I think that should cover everything. If you guys have any questions or you run into issues, please reach out to me directly.